4 o'clock. Okay. And I'll start by acknowledging that this meeting is taking place on the unceded traditional territory of the Yakinuki within the Tunaka Nation. And can I have an adoption of the regular council agenda of February 25th, 2025? Councillor Baldwin, Councillor Collin, all in favor? Thank you. And can I have an adoption of the regular council meeting minutes from February 11th, 2025? Councillor Isaac, Councillor Dumas, all in favor? Great. And we will start with the mayor and councillors' reports.
February 12th, I attended the Creston Valley Regional Airport Society meeting, and February 12th as well, the Water Service Committee meeting, RDCK Water Service Committee meeting. And February 20th, I was at the RDCK board meeting, and February 21st, the RDCK special board meeting draft budget presentation.
February 11th, the Creston Valley Community Housing Society, and they're just kind of in a holding pattern because they're just waiting for all the plans to for next year.
Excited about that. Go ahead.
February 12th, Trails for the Creston Valley Society monthly meeting, and on February 19th, the Joint Resource Recovery Committee meeting. I attended that by Zoom, and the main focus of that meeting was also the draft budget, which went on, and Denise got to play with on the 21st. And then last Friday, had the opportunity to attend a ceremony for our Staff Sergeant Boluziak and his wife, as they received the King Charles honors.
The third coronation medal. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I also attended that. And we also had John Brewer, who's the assistant commissioner, come to Creston and also received that award.
Yes.
And they got it from Laurel Larson. Yeah. Any other? Nope. And then I also attended the Fire Services Training Certificate Program on Friday, February 21st, and there were 18 graduates that came to participate and that graduated from the program from all across Canada, and they gave a short speech just commemorating the collaboration with College of the Rockies and the time of Creston. It's graduates. Okay, so can I have a motion that the verbal and written reports of council be received? Councillor Eisler, Councillor Baldwin, all in favor? And we will start with the public 5-year financial plan presentation.
So this is our final presentation. This is our official public meeting for our 2025 to 2029 5-year financial plan. So we'll just do a quick overview of our 2025 budget process, our key planning assumptions that we used for the financial plan, 2025 property tax analysis, just to get a feel what our bills are going to look like, the 2026 to 2029 property tax analysis, and the reserve continuity, and our next steps. So we, at the start of our project, it was a big project to do the budget as initial council direction. We do a budget planning session just to determine what council priorities are and if there's any projects we want to do. At a number of different meetings, we'll introduce new projects that will be reviewed by committee of the whole if we're going to add new projects to the budget plan. We also did departmental budget presentations to council in November. We also looked at water and sewer rates and renewed them based on our proposed budget. And our proposed 2025 budget was presented on the 27th of November, where decisions were made by committee of the whole. We then took all of that information and produced our budget book, which was made available to the public for comments. And then we did our 5-year financial plan review with any changes from new information that we had at February 11th. And now This is our publicly advertised as per legislation official meeting, even though all our budget meetings are open to the public. So the guidelines was, we didn't plan any for municipal contributions for development in the next 5 years. So we're not expanding our roads or pipe networks. A continuation of the RDCK service contracts except IT service provision. No reduction of levels of service for departments. Continued new infrastructure reserve taxation of $30,000 per year over the next 5 years. An average of 3% wage and benefit increases for the 5-year period. Estimated CPI for the plan, we did 2.4, 3, 3, and 3. Just to comment about that, there's quite a bit of uncertainty just with tariffs, how that's going to all affect us. For now, we'll just operate under the assumption that there's a lot of hot air behind it. We'll see what happens because it is really a destructive, self-destructive kind of behavior. So we'll see where it goes. But, based on our, we based it on these assumptions, but, it's something that can change and hopefully not affect us too bad. And then our property taxes and fees are increasing to align with inflation for 2025 to 2029. Organize our risk and opportunities. We do have an inflation lag where, there's inflation and then they say it's gone down, but there's still sort of a rolling lag of suppliers saying, oh, this has gone up and so that's happening. Staff retention and remuneration is, we've have some, doing some hiring now and we're getting some candidates, but we do have some more retirements coming up and all of those things, and hiring key positions can be quite difficult. Emergency management legislation change, which is we're implementing, but it is using up resources. Thankfully, there's lots of grant programs available by the province to help with it. We do have continuing RCMP contract increases that have affected our budget, our taxation quite significantly. It's about a 10% police tax increase for 2025. We have, our provincial downloading where affordable housing, project assistance that we're asking for and hopefully getting, daycare project assistance. There's unhoused also issues and stuff that the town is having to deal with. That's sort of a form of provincial downloading. Asset management, just the high cost of keeping our, 190 million or so assets in good shape. It's overall, I think we're doing a good job, and we'll keep working at it. Staff capacity to get projects implemented, records management, emergency management, fire smart. There's, we have added some resourcing to do these particular projects and asked for more help just because of the fact that, there's only so much we can squeeze out of the orange until we need some more help. The trade war, like I said, could affect our costs, and it's really hard to estimate what effects there are. We do have opportunities. Right now, our QP contract is 3.25 for 2025, but it is ending. Inflation is coming down again. Hopefully, we can get a good contract with QP once we start bargaining. Increasing revenues, offsetting taxation. So we are trying to find other revenue sources and keep our taxation down. And as you'll see that on our taxation, we're showing this is where our inflation increases are, but we have this other new revenue to offset it. So, and there are a number of grant programs available to assist with projects that we keep pushing for. Not really big ones for roads that we would really like to see, but once they are ready, we will be ready to apply for those. And we're working on process automation and to improve our services and efficiencies within town to be able to get more done. And we're getting things done, but sometimes you can do them better. and, you know, and have better documentation, better this, a lot of, you know, and this process automation will help when it's blended in with our electronic records management process. So that's a big thing that we're working on. And stable workforce, we have a relatively low turnover. Our QP side is very low. And, you know, we've had some, like I said, some retirements coming up, but not too much turnover at our exempt staff either. Our known cost drivers are the collective agreement at 3.25 is about 62,500. Exec staff is approximately 53,000. BC CPI was 2.4 as of October, but it is actually did go up a bit again. So I think 2.6 at the end of the year. Our RCMP is 103,000, and that's just a contract. We don't really have any kind of, we can't tell them how to, you know, you can't have this car or you shouldn't do this. No, it's sort of an allocation that goes into a big pool and it comes out as a cost per officer. Many inputs such as pipes, building supplies are set increasing, impacting our capital costs. And council remuneration is 21,000 higher this year. We're following through from our 2020, I believe, report that was adopted by council.
2022.
2022 by previous council, and we're implementing that slowly, and this is part of that. Our CPP this is the last of the large changes. There was a shift to add more funding to the CPP program and enhance benefits for people, especially younger people. This is going to make a big improvement for them, you know, once they retire. For older people like myself, it's not going to make a big difference, but they will definitely, you know, it's supposed to enhance our CPP, and you know, right now it's not enough to get people over the poverty line, and so this was hopefully bring people in the future over the poverty line. And our pension benefits, our WCB, EI, all of those things are 26,000 higher as well. WCB was quite a big change for us. It all depends on how many claims we have, and last year was a little way out of our norm, but they react really quick and really increased our rates quickly. Our insurance costs are up about 10,000, and our core increases for 2024 about an additional 10,000, and our wastewater, we're working to fix issues related to the MWR permitting, and we have continuing cost increases at the wastewater treatment plant, and so that did affect our sewer rates. And the last of these budget guidelines, our current income for our CMP costs for use for our building. The town's working with the UBCM and the province, but the UBCM has been stymied by the province and the RCP. They're really in no hurry to change anything. So it's something that we are slowly trying to change. And our RCP staffing, we do at 6.4 rather than 7 that were allotted, just because of the agreement we have with the province, is that if there is a vacancy at the detachment, you know, for an extended vacancy due to, say, injury or maternity leave or paternity leave, the town gets credit first. And so that does, you know, and if there's just a vacancy because of a transfer, we get that credit. So we always budget for a little less, and that's been very close over the last 10 years, right around there. It's usually very close to that. And we are not budgeting for any change in our CMP FTEs. We have 7 assigned to us, and that's where we're leaving them. Mayor DeBoon and CAO Moore have been lobbying the government to get more bodies on the provincial side, which wouldn't affect our cost formula. And because there is a lot of work that needs to be done outside the town, that's not being done. That puts pressure on the whole detachment. Creston Education Center, continued rental income from current tenants because we renewed all our agreements, and the school district, due to our purchase agreement, wasn't paying any rent for the first 5 years, and so we successfully signed them for another 5 years, and they're paying rent, and as well as the regional district. So the building is fully funded, and it does create a surplus, which goes into a special reserve for capital improvements. So it's basically fully sustainable, funded. So which is always was our goal. And our grant funding. So we're assuming that we hopefully getting a grant that we applied for the Acousny phase 2, and for 26 to 2029. This is one that we've actually put in for the probably 5 years in a row, and we never get it. But we want to show that we're planning and have the associated other funds to be able to do this project if a grant project does come up. And our childcare facility, we're saying, is 100% provincial grant dependent. And we've also applied for a housing accelerator fund initiatives, and that also is 100% federal grant. With the election coming up and all the uncertainty, that one might be one that's just going to have to wait and see. So our 2025 tax increase effect. Right now, our tax increase would be about 5.37 for all our inflationary increases. And our estimated non-market change increase is 0.86. So that's about 48,000, reducing that. And then because of new taxation, that will absorb that amount. And then our other core increases and decreases all netted to very close to zero, so about 271,000 net change. And our core revenue increases also help offset the increase by another 98,795. And then we add on our infrastructure replacement reserve funding, which this is now over 11 years that we've done this, and it's now making a very big difference. It did play a big role in allowing us to do all of that resurfacing we did last year. We used 695,000 out of that reserve to be able to do that. So it's been very helpful, and we're planning, like the assumption was we're going to do 30,000 each year for the next 5 years, just to keep building that fund up where we need it to be able to do our roads, and other town infrastructure that needs to be renewed and have actual funding in place. To rely on our surplus is not a good thing, because we only have about 1 million surplus, and that can be used up really quickly. So it's nice to have a cushion. And so our net increase to net municipal operational purposes was 185,000, or 3.29%. Then we add on our municipal police tax, which is about 2.3% of our overall taxation, for 131,000. So our net increase we're asking for is 5.61%. We initially said 5.81. It's now dropped 0.2% due to the higher non-market change. So it's about 316,000 of the net effect of a tax increase. So our 2024 property tax bills, the right side is the town billings. So we have general municipal collections, the utility frontage taxes. The big blue pie is the town's general municipal collections. The orange pie is the utility frontage tax, and the RCMP municipal police tax is 10%. And so that makes up about 52% of the tax bill that we send out is town related. And so the municipal portion of the tax increase for 250,000 residents is about $56.06. And a $400,000 house would be about $90, and a $550,000 house would be $124. And in 2024, Representative House was $425,000, and they paid $1,721 in taxation, municipal taxation. And our 2025 tax bills, it's difficult. I'm just guessing in terms of what the province and the regional district are, but it could be around 4.1%, which is net of the 0.88% non-market change. So hopefully that's about what the overall tax will be for all tax authorities together. And our forecasted future tax changes, general CPI at about 3% a year, about 652,000. New additions to the core budget be approximately 124,400. Tax for RCMP services at 213,000. That is at their 3%, but it definitely, if they come back and ask for more and more, that could be a little higher. Infrastructure reserve, replacement reserve taxation would be 124,000. So that would be for those 4 years of 17.4%, offset by approximately, or having new construction of 4.75. So it would be, it's not insignificant increases for sure. And our general operating revenues, they are going up a bit, 6.3, which did allow us to offset our tax increase. Our provincial grants and federal grants, it all depends on what our programs we're using and how we spend those monies. It goes up and down. Our fees for service is up 14.4%. We did add some programs in 2024 that are now affecting our 2025 increases. And our interest and penalties is going up to about 223,000. That's a fairly conservative number. And the service for other funds this is the general fund gets money from water and sewer to operate, and that's what that is. It's split 50-50 between water and sewer. And we use our previous reserves and our previous year's surplus to do a total revenue of 13 million. And those reserves are we use to do our capital projects that we've budgeted for. And our general operating expenses, general government is up 5%. There was a few new changes that we've built in the budget. Fire protection, 31.6% is very large, but if we look at taking out emergency management, it's only 4.4%. So emergency management was the lion's share of that increase. Bylaw is down slightly. RCMP costs are showing 7% higher. The Works Department is 1.8%. And because they're doing a little bit less projects, and that shows up why the overall increase is only 1.8. Development services too is very, most of that are big projects. There's the planner and the manager of development services. They make up the core of that department. So they do manage lots of big projects, and so that's why that number is quite high. And our debt is the same, and we haven't added any new debt, and that debt is the debt payments for the fire hall. And we don't have any other debt payments, but we do have over half of that debt is contributed by the regional district participation in the fire hall. And our transfer to capital is less because we're doing less capital in 2025. And our transfer to reserves is up about 4.6%. And our water operating fund, our frontage taxes are slightly more, or actually slightly less, just based on our experience of what the budget was just a little bit too high, but we haven't changed the rate. Our rates are up 3.3%. Our interest in income is about 120,000. Total revenue is about 2 million. Our administrative costs, which includes that transfer to general government that we were talking about, is 290,000. Arrow Creek is 738,000. And it should be actually a little less than that, but we didn't have a firm number. Our system maintenance cost is 474,000. There's some projects with our wells that we're doing that have bumped that number up a bit. And our transfer to capital is 307,000. So our capital spend is actually is a little less than last year. And our transfer to reserves is also a little less. And our wastewater operating fund, frontage taxes are about the same. Our rental fees rates are slightly higher due to extra increase in fees that we did, as well as higher capital numbers, revenues that we're receiving from the brewery is affecting that number as well. Our grants are 1.6 million, and that has lots to do with the regional district doing their septic receiving station. So we're just calling that a grant. And the interest is about 70,000. Transfer reserves is 1,117,000 to help pay for all those high capital costs. But it's all coming out of reserves that we've saved up for. So there's again no debt, no huge increase in fees or borrowing to do those projects. And administration expense is up a bit. And our system maintenance costs are up as well, and due to extra work being done on our I&I problem. And treatment plant operations are also up. We had to increase the budget for more chemical additions and more solids removal, and there will be divers going into the bulk volume fermenter to clean out solids around all the diffusing ports and everything. So all those projects do add up. Our transfer to capital is higher, and so we are planning to do a bunch of work, and we haven't finalized those contracts yet and the engineering, and so that's still to be determined, and we will come to council with that when we do have those final numbers. Our debt charges are the same, and our transfer reserves are also the same. And so our total general fund contribution reserves are 100,000 for municipal software reserve, public works equipment reserve is 200,000, infrastructure replacement reserve 421,000, which includes the regular 30,000 one infrastructure a year that we've been doing, but also we're adding on $56,000 for CEC rents versus expenses, and 13,000 for our Ken Huscroft Park that was donated to us. And in the agreement, we said that any surplus revenue would go into a reserve. So that's also part of that. There's also the Armitage Center, which we started. There is a budgeted surplus as well that we all will start putting into a reserve as well. So if we do have repairs of the building or capital, that we do have some money for that. And our bin replacement reserves, that's an ongoing one that we've been doing. So come a time when we want to do a changeover, we'll do everybody at the same time when it does come time that people's bins are breaking, and that time is not yet, but it's quite a big expense when you do all the town at once. And our green reserve, we're putting in $8,000, and our fire equipment reserve at $98,750. The cemetery operating reserve is budgeted to be $12,826. And so our general reserve, so this doesn't include water and sewer, is up. The capital reserves are growing at the rate we're wanting, but we did have an influx, that growing community fund, and we still haven't fully decided how we're going to spend that money. That's why it's not going down, but we will. That is something that council has available if to fund projects as they come up. And so this is our overall continuity. And it's definitely on the trajectory that has corrected the not enough reserves, and we are now working, seeing the fruits of our policies and our work to build our reserves up to be able to fund the projects that we need to be doing. We're not fully funded. We still need grants to do things, but we are definitely working on our reserves. It's great. And our public budget document, this was prepared by myself and our communications coordinator, Randy Dyer, and we did make it online on January 2025. We also had a information flyer go out regarding the budget to the public, and we did invite comments. Didn't get very many comments, but we did invite comments. Is there any questions?
Good job, Joel.
Well balanced.
Gallery?
If they have any.
Yeah, does the gallery have any questions for Stefan?
All right, so we'll just go over the remaining steps. So today is our official public budget meeting, and I'm requesting that we do 3 readings today at council. And on March 11th, we'll adopt the 5-year financial plan. On April 15th, once we get all the information from the other taxing jurisdictions and stuff, we will present a review of our tax rates. And at that time, it's up to council to set those rates. And I will come up with a recommendation, but that is just a recommendation, and council has the ability to actually change those. And on April 22nd, we'll do 3 readings of the tax rates bylaw. And on April 29th, at a special council, we'll adopt the 2025 tax rate bylaw. So we are able to process those taxes and send them out in early May.
No more questions? Okay. So can I have a recommended motion that council receives the public presentation of the 5-year financial plan 2025-2029 and the 2025 proposed budget for the town of Creston as presented by the Director of Finance and Corporate Services dated February 25th, 2025?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess it's.
Thank you.
Okay, so in a motion to convene into committee of the whole, Councillor Houghton, Councillor Eisler, all in favor. And we have a delegation from the Skimmerhorn Productions regarding a sponsorship request for Leading Tree Film Festival.
So thank you, everyone. My partner Mark extends his regrets. He's in ER right now, getting a chest X-ray. The crud that's going around. So we are representing Bleeding Tree Dark Drama International Film Festival. This is proposed for May 2nd to 4th, 2025. Here in Creston, it is 3 days of film festival, industry workshops with people from elsewhere and also from Creston filmmakers, and a festival along with that, with some of the best, what we consider some of the best dark drama, short and feature films that we've seen, for sure. We're saying in the world, but they're pretty good. So we are, we've already made a feature film. We've been in the Valley or in Creston for the past 10 years. We moved from Calgary. I'm a film scholar. Mark is a media scholar. We relocated here kind of in a semi-retirement mode, and we have finished The Orchard, which was our first feature film. We have it currently in distribution with a New Jersey distributor, and we are just in the process of cutting our second feature, Exophoria. We expect we'll also get distribution for it. We do also corporate video on the side. We've been very fortunate to have some business through the town and have produced a number of different films and corporate video projects. The doctor recruitment video, which some of you may have seen, also work on the Canada Day celebration and the fall fair. So a few other things. We were founders of the Kootenai Film Society in 2019. We co-founded the Seventh Siding Film Festival, which is now going into its 7th year. And retired after about 4 years of working on the board there with the Creston Valley Film Society, then moved into creating the Bleeding Tree Film Society. And we had our inaugural film festival in Cranbrook last August. But having proven up that concept and thinking that we were really happy with the results from that film festival, we decided to move the Bleeding Tree back to Creston, which is our home, for a variety of reasons. First, mostly being that the venue that we were using there was a performing arts venue, not a film theater per se. And really, we really did feel in the end that Creston was probably the better place to have Bleeding Tree. We also have long-standing relationships with the Tivoli, with the Creston Hotel, etc., who are ready partners for us. We also now, at this point, have a really strong roster of international and film industry guest speakers from within Creston, but also from Los Angeles, Toronto, etc., that we're bringing in to actually speak to the development and promotion and fostering of film in a small region. And we're looking to our local talent. I would like to mention Ryan Neufeld, Kate Webb, Jack Wright, Mike Moore, who've acted in our films and who are amazing talents in their own way. Really quite extraordinary, all of them. Marty Agabov, who provides our drone for us. We also have a very expanded roster of film that we do think that Creston may emerge as a kind of a film destination as we move on here. Who do we have lined up? So this is for May, this coming May. Josh Doak, who is with Bayview Entertainment. He's our distributor in New Jersey. Jamie Hill and Ross Paul. Have any of you seen Skinamarink? Okay, Skinamarink is a $15,000 film that was made in Edmonton. It's made $2 million to this point, box office. It's one of those small films that we're modeling our own projects after, with the idea that you get into distribution and sometimes you can do economically, you can do quite well. Kate Webb, Ryan Neufeld, Brian Lawrence, who are going to be speaking on our behalf. These are people making literally the shift from footlighters to film, what it is that it's meant to all of these folks. Nyla and Tyler, who are filmmakers from Los Angeles, who've made a film, an LGBTQ plus film with their cell phone, a brilliant little piece on a man who comes back to his very conservative hometown and has a float in the local parade. Really smart little film. Sarah Kapoor, who is known, I suspect, to council. She's now our new regional film commissioner. She'll be speaking on over-the-top media, that is to say, internet sales versus the usual cable broadcast sales. Mark and I of Skimmerhorn, and we want to talk about essentially do-it-yourself filmmaking, what that is, and how actually economically you can parlay that into something else. Jeff Clements, who is the Associate Dean for the Center of Entertainment Arts at Bow Valley College in Calgary, and he will be speaking about production on a small scale, essentially. So essentially the business of filmmaking. Lauren Eden, who is a young filmmaker in Toronto, she has a film on CBC at this point. We've asked her if she would consider coming in and speaking to us. So, marketing approach, while the films of the festival, yes, are our central attraction, we are looking at the marketing of Bleeding Tree as incorporating the community, and partly what we're talking about here is the tourism / hospitality aspect of any film festival. We know this from talking to industry partners. We also know this from Creative BC. The Vice President of Creative BC, Robert Wong, speaks about opportunities for tourism and hospitality coming out of these film festivals and coming out of films per se. For example, he talks about Hallmark movies, especially the Christmas movies, and how they tend to spark, especially in BC, a great deal of tourism. People will come to the place where the Hallmark film was made to see those locations. And that's the fans, of course, of Hallmark Christmas movies, mostly women. So those sorts of opportunities are always go hand in hand with film festivals. So we want to keep that in mind. We have approached Creston Hotel, Bailey Groman, and a number of other businesses in town. They're providing us with discounts and sponsorships, endorsements, etc. We are also going to be obviously really pushing on, we're going to invite people directly, but obviously social media, the usual suspects for marketing are what we're looking at. Mark, who prepared these slides, also mentioned he wants you to know that he has drawn upon some of Creston, the town's marketing, actually brilliant marketing campaigns in the past, and that he's sort of pulling those into some of our own marketing initiatives as well, especially the ones about being forgiven for thinking that you might be in Tuscany. So we are staging in this at a point in time when post-secondary is done for the year. So we've staged it at the point before most students, that is to say any arts or film students, are getting back into or getting into their summer jobs. So they've just finished their exams, etc. So that is when we're specifically holding at that time of year. So we'll be reaching out to film students in Calgary, everywhere from Edmonton, Calgary, pulling obviously into the Okanagan, everywhere along Highway 3, etc. Those would attract, we are hoping, filmmakers and actors as fee-paying attendees. The direct contact that we've made with, again, Bow Valley, etc., those folks at Bow Valley, I think, are going to sponsor our Best Student Film Prize. And we have also approached Hello Agency in Creston for our formal marketing support. As for financial support, we have had ongoing discussions with Creative BC. They seem to be very comfortable with the idea of supporting us. We're just sending in that application now. CBT, RDCK, and related grants. So we're trying to kind of back off a little bit from some of the smaller local grants because we understand we are to some extent direct competition with Creston Valley Film Society and the Seventh Siding Festival. So we want to be very respectful of that competitive edge and just be careful of that. The town, though, is, I guess we would say, yes, this is our major stop with the town of Creston. We do see this as an opportunity, again, to spark tourism around the film festival. And obviously with little excursions, like excursions to Bailey Groman, if the asparagus is ready by then, excursions to those farms, etc. That's, again, always with these ideas in mind that there's an awful lot more to Creston than the film festival at the beginning of May. Budget, let's see what would be. The packages, so anyone coming to, the packages are about $45 that we've settled on that. So that's for the 3 days. That includes all the workshops. So we'll have a full day of workshops on Saturday, some viewings Friday night, Saturday night, wrap up Sunday, excursions, etc. So we're pulling together that package. $45, we think, for students is not that steep an ask. The viewings, the gate for the Tivoli, we will split with the owner of the Tivoli 50-50. So film submission fees, these come into us through Film Freeway. These are international films that come to us. This is an international film festival. So they come into us. We've already, we're halfway through the process. We've garnered around, $1,200 from that. We're expecting that will ramp up significantly based on fees that came to us last year. We should see that comfortably move up into probably the $2,000-$2,400. Creative BC looking at $3,000 Town of Creston. This is negotiable, obviously, and a ballpark, but $3,000 is our ask to you, along with a letter of support. So, and then on the other side, the expenses, facility rentals, Tivoli, Creston Valley, $2,000. Speaker honorary, this is the lion's share. We are going to be trying to, obviously most of these asks that will go right back to our speakers and to the people who are leading our panels. Marketing support, $3,000. Print miscellaneous, which is around $750. So that's a bit breathless, but I hope I got through that in fairly good time. So, any questions? Yes.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I was just wondering if there are other CUNY towns that have been drawing much film coming in.
Many film festivals from other.
Or no, just people coming in to film movies.
Okay. Well, Sarah Kapoor could definitely tell you more about that as our film commissioner. Now, I know that Nelson has had, and this is not what we would call runaway productions, which is to say productions coming from away into your town. But Amy Bohegan has made a web series that in Nelson called it's really funny. It's really good, and it should get some very strong support. Southern Interior, it's called, and she previewed that last month in Nelson. So it's not a film festival. That is a production per se that is certainly native in the Kootenays. There are various, I think Invermere, there was a Hallmark film shot in Invermere a couple of years ago, and it was a Christmas movie. It did quite well. But it's Creative BC, which is the main funding body for film in BC, understands that the Kootenay region is very underserved in terms of those sort of, and it's, I think, mostly the reason they're so interested in this festival, because what we are asking or what we're pulling together is like-minded filmmakers who are trying to figure out how to do this very difficult thing, how to get funding for it, how to make it how to do this in a way that is not strictly volunteer or that hemorrhages money, and that is to say, make something of a living at it. Mm-hmm. So that economic driver, this is very difficult to do in film. There's a lot of product in the market. It's very difficult to get distribution, but this is why we are trying to pull people together to talk about exactly these issues.
Other question, Councilor Baldwin?
Sure, just a real quick one.
Sure.
Your administration for all this stuff is just a labor of love. I don't see any revenue coming back to you. Is that correct? For this?
No, we understand through Creative BC that if we get funding from them, there is a small 10% administrative fee that we can charge. So, but mostly, mostly it's a labor of love. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
But it could evolve into something that is a little bit more sustainable, because back to volunteer things, this could be great this year.
Yeah.
And if you decide to retire,
yes, exactly.
Where's the film festival?
Exactly. I mean, that is, we know it takes time to get your legs under you to do these kinds of things. We are certainly hoping that, yet we can move past it. No, we absolutely understand what you're saying.
Certainly admire the effort. It's huge. Wouldn't have gotten off the ground with any other business model, quite frankly.
It's a very poor business model, actually. But it's true.
No, we thank you.
For sure. Yeah.
I'm just curious if you're planning on presenting to Valley Services Committee. It sounds like that would be a great committee to present to because it's the town of Creston area A, B, and C. And that's the surrounding areas that you're talking about. So doing the different activities that would, you're taking those activities up to those areas. So that might be a great place to, I realize that you don't want to go after RDCK money because of the conflict, but I think the Valley Services Committee would be a great place because it's all the areas that you're wanting to target.
Well, that's wonderful. And may we get back to you just with another question or two on that? Thank you, Denise. Like that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we make their decisions in the following meeting. So great.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so just a recommendation that the delegation from Skimmerhorn Productions regarding sponsorship for Bleeding Tree Film Festival be received. And then moving on to council direction request from the manager of community planning and development regarding opting into the provincial principal resident requirements.
Thank you, your worship, council.
Nice.
So over the past couple of years, the province has come out with loads of changes and to the short-term rental regime, the STR regime, the regulations around there. One of which was that they came out with their principal residency requirement, which applies to most communities in BC that are over 10,000. It doesn't apply to Creston, but there is the option of opting into this requirement and some benefits attached with doing so. The town of Creston currently is a little bit more restrictive than the province when it comes to principal residency requirements for short-term rental business licenses. And opting in would give, the access for the ability for the province to proactively enforce these requirements through their system, which reduces the need, I think, for us to put resources towards that. So I think there's definitely benefit to it. That said, in come May, anyone that isn't registered with the province and doesn't have a business license from a community, their short-term rentals will no longer be permitted to be advertised across the board. So any illegal short-term rentals we have in Creston right now that don't have business licenses, and we have 2 that have business licenses, will be unable to continue advertising after this change. It comes into effect. Right now, because we have access to the data now for the data portal, we have 20 short-term rentals that are registered with the listing platforms. I think 7 of which are currently active, at this moment. And of those 7, only one of them is one of the ones that has a business license. The other one isn't yet operational. So it's going to have an impact for sure on those hosts that have illegal short-term rentals currently. And with that also, the province now has a dedicated unit to deal with this. They're taking very seriously the connection between short-term rentals and long-term rentals and the impacts there, which is interesting because it does seem, whether for that reason or for a variety of other reasons, with the province's initiatives around housing, that they have seen an improvement in the tenancy rates, like the rental vacancy rates, for 2023 to 2024. So they mentioned it in here somewhere. But yeah, it went up from, I think, around 1.2 to 1.9%. So that's encouraging. Rent prices continue to rise, but so does inflation. So we would be the only community in the Kootenays not required to opt into this requirement that would choose to do so. Nobody else has done that. In BC, there are 17 communities that have opted in and 4 that have opted out. Because you can opt out if your vacancy rate is already above 3%, right? And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the provincial picture. I think it's being considered in other communities, but nothing definitive, really. So yeah, our bylaw that we adopted around the same time that the province came out with their information or with their regulations, they're really well aligned with each other. You know, aside from us being slightly more restrictive when it comes to not allowing short-term rentals in detached dwellings or in detached accessory units. So if you have like a granny suite or a laneway house or something like that. That and we say that it's your principal residence if you live there for 8 months of the year, and the province says 6 months. So it's not a big difference, but there's it's worth aligning on things like this. I think when it just it makes the situation easier for people to understand who are looking to run these sorts of businesses. And then the other bit is that where the province is actually a little bit more restrictive is that they consider short term to be 90 days or less, and our bylaws say short term is 30 days or less. So there is a gap in there where we would require a business or where we wouldn't require a business license because we consider you to be a long-term rental. But it doesn't matter because the province would still look at you as a short-term rental. So, and one of the pieces when we had brought in business licensing for short-term rentals at the beginning of last year was the determination of the short-term rental fee, which was set at $650 to try and capture costs. We do list out a few of the other communities around that have fees, and staff are recommending continuing with the current fee structure. They're in line with the norms, it seems. And I think that's really the majority of the update.
Any questions?
Sorry, you said 6 months at the provincial level, but what the wording is actually where you spend the majority of your time. Right. In other words, it's the principal residence is the place where an individual resides for more calendar days in a year than any other location.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's an astute observation.
It doesn't actually mean 6 months. It could be as long as it's you're at that home more than anywhere else.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I guess it could mean less.
Right. Yeah. So I just thought that seemed to be a more defensible thing, because rather than somebody having to jump back and fill that time, but they're living down in Arizona or something like that. If it's just a matter of as long as they're there more than they're in Arizona, then it counts.
Yeah, and even if they're in Mexico for 2 months as well.
That's what. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I'm just curious how it works with our bylaws being maybe more restrictive than the provinces, because you say in here that it won't be an issue, but I think, an owner of a short-term rental could look at the provincial legislation and what it says in the act and say, I am following that. And so how do we then say, yeah, but you're in Creston? And anyways, I just, like, I think it actually creates a bit of a potential for non-compliance where people say, I'm following the provincial act.
That's a fair point. I think the real difference, or we're recommending to council that you align your definition with the principal residence definition. When it comes to the detached or the attached accessory dwelling units, you need a business license anyway. So we're the first point of contact for somebody who's looking to run a business, this type of business particularly. And so, we can flag that to them at that time. However, we're opening it up. If we're going to open up the zoning bylaw to adjust the principal residence definition, council could certainly determine that detached accessory dwelling units are appropriate for short-term rentals, and we can make that change too. Yeah, we could align in that way, but it's not, I don't think, a challenge or overly. There's a bit of confusion maybe. But it's well within council's prerogative to attach additional requirements to it.
And my last question, you cite in Nelson and Cranbrook occupancy rates that are below that ideal 3%. Do we have a rough idea of what Creston is and who is calculating that?
No. We don't. So CMHC will collect the average rental data for communities over 10,000.
Over 10,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we don't. So it's very anecdotal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Councilor Esser?
When we were first putting in kind of the fee structure, it was based around staff time, a lot of it. So as we align with provincial things, how is that going to affect staff time? Because we said we would come back and revisit the fees.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. If we are, and I guess we'll have to see, if there are gaps between us and the province, will be one piece of it. But I would expect, based on what we've learned in this registry and the new requirements that are coming out, that our enforcement will be less than anticipated. Yeah, so we don't know that for sure yet, but it looks like that's going to be the case.
Yeah, so then that would be an opportunity for us to look at it, because that was what the fees were based on for staff time.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
So
Maybe we can include that in the recommendation so that we have it to come back following the provincial implementation in the summertime.
Sorry, Joel, that is a past recommendation that's still on council of action list, so it's hanging out there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. And so then our recommendation is on there with council.
Yeah.
They can go there.
The recommendation is that council receives the February 25th, 2025 council direction request titled opting into the provincial principal residence requirement from the manager of community planning and development, that council directs staff to prepare a zoning amendment bylaw to change the meaning of principal residence when referring to short-term rentals to align with provincial legislation for council consideration, and further that council directs staff to prepare a council resolution and request for decision for council consideration of opting into the provincial principal residence requirement.
Sounds good.
Okay, and now resolution, motion to rise from the committee of the whole. Councillor Baldwin, Councillor Houghton, all in favor. And then moving to the division reports, we have a request for decision from the Director of Finance and Corporate Services regarding the 5-year financial plan bylaw. So just read them, go through them.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, since we've already done that. Okay, so that the report titled 5-year provincial plan bylaw number 2018-2025, dated February 25, 2025 from the Director of Finance and Corporate Services be received, and that the 5-year financial plan bylaw number 2018,
Sorry, Your Worship, could we have them as separate motions?
Oh, yes, okay. So we'll start with that one. Can I just read? Can I get a motion for that? Councillor Dumas, Councillor Eisler, all in favor? Thank you. And then do you want the other two in separate motions as well? Okay, so that the 5-year financial plan bylaw number 2018-2025 be read a first time by title and a second time by content. Councillor Eisler, Councillor Dumas, all in favor. And then that the 5-year financial plan bylaw number 2018 be read a third time by title. Councillor Houghton, Councillor Holland, all in favor. Great. And then moving on to the discretionary grant application from KRRS from committee. I asked Creston a couple days ago and she said it was $500 is what we gave to them 2 years ago, and last year they didn't ask for any funding. So I think the request this year was the same.
It was
$1,000. It's $1,000. Okay.
So we currently have 3,900 left in council's discretionary grant. So it's up to council what they would like to recommend for the amount to the KRSS plan committee.
Any recommendations?
500 sounds reasonable given the amount we've got. It'll really cramp us down if we're a large lump like that.
Yeah.
But also create a bit of a precedent for others that we love it. I mean, it's a great thing. But I would make a motion for about $500.
Okay. Great. Well, yes, Councillor Baldwin's making that motion, and who wants to second that? Councillor Dumas. Okay, all in favor? And then moving on to community services. So a request for decision from the manager of community planning and development regarding zoning amendment bylaw number 2023.
Again, so this has come to council already for first and second readings. It's a bylaw to permit childcare as a primary or accessory use in all zones within the town of Creston. We had given notice of first and second readings prior to first and second readings, and hadn't received any comment at that time. And so council can choose to give third and adoption if they wish.
Okay. Do you need these in
Yes, please.
separate, all three of them? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll start with the first, the report titled Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 2023-2025, third reading and adoption dated February 25th, 2025 from the manager of community planning and services be received. A motion, Councillor Houghton, Councillor Baldwin, all in favor. And then that zoning amendment bylaw number 2023-2025 be read a third time by title. Councillor Eisler, Councillor Holland, all in favor. And then that zoning amendment bylaw number 2023-2025 be adopted. Councillor Baldwin, Councillor Houghton, all in favor. Okay, and so moving to the protected services, a request from the decision from the fire chief regarding emergency management bylaw adoption.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, there's no new information as of last week. The amendment bylaw has been read 3 times.
Okay.
So staff are just requesting that it be adopted.
Okay. Any questions for that? Okay, so that the report, do you need these again in 2 separate? The report titled Council Adoption of Emergency Management Amendment Bylaw number 2022-2025, dated February 25th, 2025, from the fire chief be received. Idler, Councillor Houghton, all in favor. And then that the Emergency Management Program Amendment Bylaw number 2022-2025 be adopted. Councillor Dumas, Councillor Holland, all in favor. So, okay, so then the recommendations from the Committee of the Whole, and we can do these in a block. So you've read the first and second recommendations, so I'll just read that the recommendations 1 to 2 from the regular Committee of the Whole meeting of February 11th, 2025 be adopted. Councillor Eisler and Councillor Holland, all in favor? Perfect. Okay, so there's a couple correspondence. For the Lord Kootenai Band, there's a request for donation for the 32nd annual Yakima Powwow. What did we give to them?
Yeah, so last year we provided $500 for council's advertising budget towards this.
Okay. I'll make a motion to that again. Okay. There's a seconder for that. Councillor Baldwin. Okay, so that council authorizes sponsorship to the Lord Kootenai Band for the 32nd annual Yakima Powwow in the amount of $500 to be allocated for council's advertising budget. All in favor? And the Creston Valley Shrine Club sponsorship request for the Harvey Sales Derby. And that was $250 last year.
I'd go with $250 again.
So that council authorizes a sponsorship in the amount of $250 to be allocated from the council advertising budget. Can I get a second? Kaiser, all in favor? Perfect. And moving on, Andrea Wilkie from the Executive Director of Community Futures in regards to exploring workforce housing partnership opportunities. So just to direct staff to coordinate a meeting between the town and the Community Futures Central Kootenai to explore workforce housing partnership opportunities in Creston. Another seconder, Councillor Dumas, Councillor Holland, all in favor. Okay, and this one is just a receive for information. That there were correspondence from the Wildsight Creston Valley branch to Honorable Brandon Nile, Minister of Water, Land and Resource Stewardship regarding an urgent request for water sustainability planning. So that's, I move on a second here. Councillor Holland, Councillor Houghton, all in favor. And there's the acting mayor schedule. So Councillor Baldwin, you're next. And question period. Any questions from the gallery? Okay, so that the regular council meeting of 25th, 2025 be recessed at 10, thank you. And by the authority of the community charter, council moved to a closed council meeting, with this meeting being closed for the public and or news media pursuant to the acquisition, disposition or exportation of land or improvements or negotiations and related discussion. Councilor Dumas. And adjournment, recommended motion that council meeting of 25th, 2025 be adjourned. Councilor Hassler. Sorry, I missed one person, didn't I?
You have a second recess.
Yes.
Just need to vote that it's going, so everybody's good with moving to recess.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
So we'll just recess for about 5 minutes.
Okay, go and make a screen. You go, you got more.